Whenever you're ready, Alex, let me know.
Yep, let's do it. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. The special Board of Finance meeting. We have the roll call, please.
We have all members present.
Excellent, thank you. Item number 2A. Discussion of possible action on fiscal year 23-24 budget. I appreciate everything you have made here, Eric. Is there anything? I'm assuming the revenues is updated.
Yeah, I gave you updated copies of the revenues, the summary of all the departments, the fringe benefits we're talking about, and education.
Excellent. Okay. Okay. Well, unless anyone has anything, we can jump right into the presentations. Okay, so we're going to start with contributions, which is 4103. Okay, I would assume for this someone from the Slater Library is here. Hi, would you like to say a few words?
Yep. I'm Jan D'Amico, I'm chairman of the board, trustee of the Slater Library. And we've done very well here and given them the folders and everything. I am going to present Teresa's report.
Sure.
Teresa Madonna, because she is not able to make the meeting tonight. So I will read that to you. She already did send the information in the packet already that you should have for the library.
Yep, we do.
Okay, want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so I'd like to introduce Becky, our director, of the library, the city.
Sure. Hello.
I passed you guys a packet for you, some of you came in. It's a piece behind it. The first page is two-sided on the back, just events that are going to be happening at the library in the upcoming spring. So my name is Rebecca Tucson, I'm the director of the library. And the library is located on Main Street and it is a perfect spot for us because we are the heart of the community, visible and accessible. And we work at keeping current and having the pulse of the community we serve. To do this, we outreach, join, bring in, and learn from many resources. We adapt materials and programs, services to best serve our patrons while drawing in others. Keeping up with all of this, plus maintaining a historic building, can be daunting. Above the basic things that all of us deal with. We maintain 17 computers and the Wi-Fi service that connects them and any visitor to our library to the world. Add to that our consortium services, living, statewide borrowing and subscriptions, and of course getting books. And you can see what I mean, how big this project is and how much it takes to keep us running. We rely on grants, which we diligently search out. We rely on the things of Slater Library and you. So thank you for being generous in your support of Slater Library.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to say a few things about Friends of the Library. As Becky did say, you have the blue paper of the fundraising that we've done, and this is probably the most we've had in many, many years. The group works very hard. I do look for new members to come in because a lot of the other members are get older and they can't do a lot of the things. So I have gone to the high school and they are helping us. April 29th, we're having a big book and yard sale in the town parking lot. And they have been signing up students for me to help go on that third floor, because obviously we could not, with the structure of the building, go up on the third floor with them. You only go downstairs to children and upstairs on the main floor. So, they're doing community service, which is great. So we have that good rapport, it's a community thing with the school and everything. And we hope to do very well on that, and as you can see, we, give a lot back to the community, as Becky has said also. Only other thing I'd like to say is Teresa Madonna, that she could not be here tonight. So, as I mentioned, she said that she already sent you all the information. She said our income was comprised primarily from the funding from the towns of Griswold and Lisbon. We received 67% of our income from the town of Griswold, 20% from the town of Lisbon, and the remaining 13% of our income comes from donors such as Friends of the Library, grants, and local organizations, contributions from patrons and community residents submitting donations in memory of their friends and family. We kept our building in good repair and completed the window project on the third floor, which was huge for us. And put the finishing touches on all the windows. So the whole building is totally done. We did some stone and cement work to our children's library and maintained a clean and safe environment for library patrons. We are proud of our building and focus on maintaining it in good condition for our community use. Wages continue to be our largest expense. 62% of our expense budget. Most of our employees are part-time and are paid minimum wage. But as minimum wage continues to increase, so does our payroll. We continue to supply electronic access to library materials in this post-pandemic environment. Our investment in bringing books and materials electronically to patrons have kept our library utilization numbers high and provided a valuable service to all of our community. Our utility use, with the help of Mother Nature, has been a mild winter, has kept heat, water, and electric expenses reasonable at 9% of our budget. Our income and expense budgets are tight, and board strives to maintain efficiency and ensure that our expenses do not exceed our income each year. I respectfully request that the town continue its funding for Slater Library, as it is an important service provided to our community. We are requesting the same amount of funds that we did the previous year. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions?
Anybody have any?
So, I don't see where we got a copy of what was just read. Maybe it's missing it in the packet. No,
No letter.
no. Oh, okay.
No.
Can you just one more time go over the percentages and the revenue streams? I think that was right at the very beginning. What they were, 'cause you kind of covered that very quickly on.
Oh, about our income?
Yes.
Okay, our income was comprised primarily funding from the towns of Bristol and Lisbon. We received 67% of our income from the town of Bristol.
Right.
20% from the town of Lisbon, and the remaining 13% of our income comes from donors such as friends, grants, and local organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. And Teresa did mention that if anybody else did have any information that you could contact her later on.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the library, or any comments, questions on this section of the budget in general? Everything else seems pretty straightforward. I assume they're just the total or the asks from the various organizations, but
Alex, can I just?
absolutely,
comment on it?
sure.
All the requests are in your book.
Right.
The Board of Selectmen decided to fund everybody at the same amount they got last year.
Yeah.
Almost everybody was asking for more.
Okay.
But the selectmen didn't want to increase contributions just because knowing it's gonna be a tough budget year.
Certainly, yeah, no, I think that's a great thing, personally. Anything else on this? Okay, we're going to move on to recreation And
530.
531 essentially Parks and Rec.
We'll get closer.
Sure.
Hear me yelling at you?
Sure.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. All right, so I got this copy. We're gonna just grab one, bring them down. So. So if you look at the budget, there's really. The changes really are more line item related. So the two increases, just to get them out there. Is for. There's no code, because it's a new position, the program coordinator. We asked for 15,000, it was cut to 7, but we're still grateful for that. And then the increase for our field trips for the youth center, which we're trying to bring back. We've been using donation money for the last couple of years, which is we're grateful for, but just looking for a line item that we can use this going forward. Anything else are really summer camp changes? The biggest change is adding, so before COVID, we had field trips. We used to bring the whole camp to field trips. So after COVID, so when COVID happened, remember 1 year we weren't funded because everything got canceled because the world shut down. And the next year we were funded back. I requested the money back instead of the field trip because obviously transportation wasn't going to happen. It was put into guest performers. So now fast forward to this year that things are hopefully, back to normal. We're asking to bring field trips back. Here's the catch. The money that used to pay for the whole camp, all, 180 plus kids, we can't afford to bring any, like everybody anymore. So here's an example. Quasi amusement park used to be $18 a kid. It's now 30 something. So that's why we divided the program to Camp GES, which is up to 9, so 5 to 9 year olds. And then 10 to 13 year olds would be Camp GMS, the older kids. Those are the kids that would be going on the field trips. Because I didn't want to quadruple my budget, coming back. But that's the big change. Everything else pretty much is the same, except for of course union stuff and things out of my control that go up. But that's about it. I also included just a draft idea of what that program coordinator position does. The idea of it is we've been spinning our wheels for years, like we're very successful at what we do, but we're not growing into anything new. So I have an assistant, Mike, who's here right now in the back. That role as assistant really used to be a program coordinator type role that would be programming outside the youth center. Our youth center has become so big, and, well, not big, but our enrollment has become big. The building's the same size, but the enrollment grew. So that's really, the assistant position really is almost covering the youth center, the whole part-time they're here. So the idea of having a program coordinator is you find gaps in services in the town through surveying in the community. But like the most outstanding one is ages 13 and up for residents who are non-athletic, maybe residents that aren't in school sports, kind of like a teenage, like center, a teen center type program is a huge need, because once you hit 13, like imagine being a kid, all these nonprofits, little league, soccer, lacrosse, football, cheer, you have all these options, and then you hit 14 as you can't make the team, what are you going to do? So they usually go to another town, honestly. So that would be our biggest gaps in services that we're trying to target with this position. And honestly, I don't have time to do it. I would love to do it, but I'm to the point that I'm building programs, keeping them steady as they go. Mike's taking care of the youth center and all the hiccups and things that, 40 something kids and their personalities bring to the table every day, that we want to grow outside the building. And that's the only way we could do is actually put somebody on. The original idea would be 52 weeks, 52 weeks a year. But it was cut down to 7,000, so we'd have to figure out what that looks like if it's approved. But- So those are the only two major changes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
I guess the only question I have, Alex,
Yeah.
is the assistant director, is that a part-time position?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Ryan, recreation supplies / subcontractors. That was reduced. You know what the breakdown is between recreation supplies and subcontractors? I'm gonna guess subcontractors who are they people that are working at the building? Are they people that are doing programs for you? Is that programming? What is?
So good question. They're actually all broken down in the notes. What is what? So it's mostly for basketball and the bottom where it says return revenue YBL, that's youth basketball league. That's the top of the line, and the bottom is summer camp.
Gotcha, okay.
And that was reduced because that's where your field trips costs were, and that's what was moved to the field trip line item. But it's only 8,000 something, but the extra 3,000 is youth center.
I'm sorry, Eric, maybe, or Ryan, you can answer. The assistant director, that's a union position, and the benefits included in the part-time position?
No.
No benefit. I was gonna say, maybe if that was full-time, maybe you wouldn't need the coordinator.
I would love that. Yes. This selectmen have talked about it. A lot of what it comes down to is the benefits cost almost as much as the salary.
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. The students, the age group that goes on field trips, what is the out of town fee for those students versus the in-town fee?
Okay, so new this year, out of town residents have to wait till May 19th to even enroll. We did that because we sell out all the time, and the last thing I want to do is turn away a resident. So we give them all the way up from January to May 19th to sign up. So, and then if they do, say if there are spots available, which honestly probably won't be for that age group, because you have to think about my budgeting is one bus, because I can't go more than that because then you're over budget. With that staff, and you have to maintain a certain amount of people on a bus, because if not, it's overpopulated. But it's one, if, say, in theory, it was open to a non-resident that didn't get booked, to be, I think it's 180, I'm sorry. Let me just look it up real quick, but it's for a actual in-town person with the early bird rate is 110. And then for a non-resident, and that's for all week, 9 to 4 programming. 180. Yeah, so it's a much bigger cost to a non-resident. But again, this year, I really don't even think that's gonna play a role into it. Because we have a cap and you can't go over it because then you need another bus.
So it was 180, you said?
180. And then let me see, and you also have to think. There's early care too, so say if you want to add on 7 AM to 9 AM, so that additional $80 on top of that too. So that's 190, sorry. Grizzle resident is 130 without the early bird discount. Non-resident is 190 without there's no early bird because they don't get it. And then an additional fee if you need the early care, which is about 40 something kids. So it's a need, is $80 per family. So it's not per kid, it's per family. So 1 kid to 15 kids, it's the same group.
So there's no, Ryan, there's no added expense for the field trip itself?
No, that's included with Camp GNS.
Gotcha, with the owner.
Exactly, yep. Yeah.
Have you determined, now that you're looking at getting back into the field trips, have you determined the true cost for one individual in that in that program so that when we, set a fee for the out of town, we are breaking even?
So the out of town rate is above the break even point. It's about $70. Like for an actual person to go, that everything would be covered, is about $70. So it's higher for non-resident, much higher.
$70 plus the fee to get into the amusement park, because
Right.
as you said, they're.
Yeah, much higher, yeah. That plus the bus, because if you look at the bus, it's $100 an hour. Yeah.
And how many,
Now-
sorry, how many field trips are we talking?
The first field trip is we're walking down to the carnival at the youth center, and they're gonna have a VIP session that's just staffed with our kids, which is pretty awesome as a kid to go do that. The other field trips, there's 5 that we're actually leaving. The 4th of July week, we're not taking a trip. We have Lifestar come to us, and it's Heroes Day, so we honor the first responders that week. But that's it.
2 minutes, Gail, you there?
Yes, back when COVID hit and we couldn't do the field trip, that money, could you refresh my memory, that money went back into the budget, and then the following year, you received the total budget that you had gotten previously, is that correct?
That's correct. In that line item, switch for field trips to 5216.
So it went into the recreation supplies and.
Yeah, and subcontractors, because honestly, they pay for performance. We're all contract.
So that was like that was like $7 grand, and now
Yeah.
the budget is asking for 27 grand. So,
Hmm.
I'm
Oh,
concerned,
okay.
I'm concerned that we used up the money that was intended for field trips for other stuff, and now that we're getting back into field trips, we're asking for that money again.
That's a fair question.
Could you sort of explain why that's not true?
Why it wouldn't be used for that, you mean? What's the difference this year?
Well, to go from 7,000 to 27,000 in 2.5 years, that's a big jump.
In 2021, there was no summer camp.
They didn't have it that year. It's the 49,000, I think, is what we're referring to for the COVID year.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay, so that was a COVID year too, though.
But camp was open.
Yeah,
That was when you had extra staff, because you had to separate the kids.
A lot more.
Keep them close. And
Yes, sir, yeah.
Right,
yeah, it was a lot. They asked for a really outstanding percentage versus other camps. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Ryan, last year you generated a little over $290,000 in revenue, so according to the sheet here.
Correct.
So essentially assuming that your grants and your fees are going to remain static at the least.
Yeah,
Really your net budget is really a little over $185,000, correct?
yes, sir. And this year too, so last year for our summer camp grant was 22,500. This year I requested 48,000 some change. And that's for 2 years, so it's first year's 48 and second year's 48, if we receive it.
That would be excellent. Wow. Good point.
you do your own grant writing?
Yep. Painstaking, yes. Do it. Yep.
Okay, any other questions for Ryan?
I had a question, but I guess I'm not sure. I would prefer to see the assistant director be full-time based on all the activities going on, the amount of youth that he is serving every day. Makes the program coordinator. That's just my opinion. Seems like there's a lot going on down at the youth center. That would just be my opinion.
Could certainly get behind that, Dan.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I just thought of something, so last year, we approved, I believe, my memory serves correct, like 70,000 for roof repairs, and, but that was.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty, that was taken care of and it worked out all right.
I haven't heard anything of it. So that's public works,
So it hasn't been done yet.
you know, for the youth center.
Yeah,
No,
No, I talked to Todd last week about it, and
it's on their radar, for sure.
yeah, he's getting quotes from different companies now that spurs out.
So with regard to the increase in hours of the assistant, I'd be curious, Eric, if you could tell us what the increase cost would be if we looked at that as an option.
I can calculate that, I'll have to find out what insurance plan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For the next meeting.
That would be perfect. Yeah.
I'm assuming it would be similar to the assistant at the senior center.
Yeah, well, a lot hinges on.
Yeah, on the insurance, I get that.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
I mean, considering, when you break it down that way. Everything the youth center does and all the programs, and it really only costs the town when you break it down that way, 185,000, I think it's pretty unbelievable values, so.
Especially if we want to try and grow the program.
Certainly, yeah, so, Ryan, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. No, that's amazing. I appreciate it.
Okay, so any other questions, comments?
One more question.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many different students utilize at least one program at the youth center?
So the youth center is kind of like a family. So you have 100+ members of this family that they all come in based on season. There's some play sports, some learn drama, all the things that pop up. So we can't go past 43 kids in that building because our fire rating is 50 and you have staff. The way we kind of switch it, say we have more than that come in, we have a second floor, which is the art room. That we can now we can only get 33 people up there, so it's 50, 33. And then we have the outside, thank God, we have a park. So there's places to go. But yeah, so if you want to take an average of how many in there, we maxed out at the last party at 43. And that was a pizza party that we had kind of like a town hall. We sit down with the kids and they went over the rules and, being parents, trying to tell them the rules. So, and every day we average at least 30+ in and out. We had to think some people leave early, some people come in later. Our 8th graders kind of come in usually an hour after. The thing that was more shocking than anything this year, so if you look at it, it's a window of time, right? We have a 10 to a 13-year-old. 13, they move on, right? So you kind of lose the population that move up to high school. And then now you have 9 turning 10-year-olds coming into your program. Our 5th, and those are 5th graders, our 5th grade enrollment shot through the roof this year. So usually I'm like, okay, this is fine. 8th graders will step down. Now they roll up. We have no. So I'm worried about next year because now we have that many 5th graders coming in. They have siblings, they have friends who are younger, and so it gets bigger and bigger. So that's my concern for the future, which the rec commission is working on, because like we looked at adding an addition to our building. And some people smarter than me looked at it and said, well, you're gonna have to waterproof the whole building, which now a small addition now turns into a quadrupling the budget for this small addition. So we're planning, it's baby steps. So we're just thinking the future. So we have to develop and be dynamic to do it outside the building, right? Because I can't do anything more inside the building.
So are you saying that your all the youth center programs, program services, approximately 43 different individuals? Some of them are multiple,
Right.
but
Daily.
it's 43.
Yeah, you can say 43 weekly, but daily, you can spike 40 in a day, just for no reason at all, just because it's nice out,
And the rec department, and the rec programs like the camp,
Yep,
they bring in additional over 43?
Yes, we can take 240 total, we can. We're usually about 180 though, that sign up, so. And I say we can because the state has ratios, like if you're a 9-year-old, you have to have 1-to-10 ratio. We have a lower ratio, so we're gonna have more staff there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay, we're gonna move on to Board of Finance. Which,
Oh, you skipped that.
oh, wow, all right, sorry, Jed. Say that again for me, 8501. All right, everybody's favorite, Catherine. Okay, so we've got some time to look at this, but I guess Jim, you want to give us a quick overview here?
Yeah, just quick overview.
Sure.
First on the 5-year plan, and then actually a brief overview on the 20-year plan, just so you see the big picture. First off, the capital improvement committee wants to thank the Board of Finance for the major increase we got in funding last year. Was certainly able to do quite a bit more than that. We requested $1,506,907 this year. I think it's very close to what we appropriated last year. We only had three requests that actually exceed 100,000, and that's the road for $1 million down for road. 160,000 for John Deere replacement, and 119,000 for the ballers at the school. These three items here, consumed $1.3 million, or $1.3 million of the total budget, which is approximately 85% on those three items. The road, of course, being the big. Fortunately, this year, we did not have a lot of other expensive items for this year, like a new truck, fire engines and things like that. Really decimated the road front. This year's budget does not fund any other very expensive items as an engine, tankers for the fire department, new trucks like I just mentioned. Looking forward, next year's estimated funding requirements will be over 2.1 million with their few next year. That's a $643,000 increase over the budget over what we're asking for this year, which is about 9/10 of a mil. So, the total request is the total request on the 5-year plan is over $11 million, which works out to be on average about $2.25 million a year. So that's one of the, it just keeps building as we keep rolling it forward. I think the final comment on that is that maintaining our capital assets is very expensive, but not maintaining them is even more expensive. So, any questions at this point on the 5-year plan?
Any questions, anybody?
What is so the John Deere for public works? What's a 410G?
It's a backhoe load.
So I guess my question for you, Eric, I know we've done lease purchases on fire trucks and stuff like that in the past. Is there a dollar value cutoff or it makes sense, doesn't make sense? Is that something that we might want to consider for something like this?
Doing a second lease purchase
Yeah.
with the interest rates now, I don't know if that would be a good idea.
There was some discussion on the balance of each private school. Maybe doing something that might be a little less expensive. Going into the building, there was discussion on that recently. You know, the students who was more shooting through the doors and cars going through the front of buildings. But now that $119,000. That's where to spend that money.
I mean, my own personal thought is if you really want to kill a lot of kids, you go up there when you're getting off the bus in the morning, you get on getting there on the bus in the afternoon. That to me is the highest.
Okay, so, I guess let's dive into it. So, did you want to go over the actual, the budget for this year, essentially?
I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, what were you gonna?
Well, I was going to 5-year plan, but if you have more questions, I'll be happy to try and address them. I mean, it's like a 20-year plan.
Well, that line item that we were just talking about, I assume that that's been discussed and reviewed with the Board of Ed, with the superintendent, and that's acceptable to them. I mean, they asked for it, and they
Yes.
asked for that design, so.
They did, and initially, I think we appropriated like 49,000 maybe last year. I don't think that's on here anymore. Well, maybe yes, it is.
29.
Yeah, it's 29,496. And then, I guess upon reevaluation of the whole thing, they decided that it needed to be expanded. And that's where the additional 119,000 came in. I think there's 49,000 already been appropriated. Is that correct, Eric? Or no, I guess.
No,
It's 49. So this is already appropriated.
The superintendent was present when we talked about different ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the superintendent said that he wanted to bring someone in to explain the importance of balance. If I remember that right. Law enforcement.
I can't remember that for sure, but he did reference an article. It was a manual, and I went and looked at that and read it in the security thing. And in all honesty, balance was only mentioned once in, as I remember in that article with,
What did the $10,000 in IT infrastructure upgrade get us for the town?
I'm sorry, what?
The $10,000 for the IT infrastructure upgrades?
Yeah, that's something I think we've been budgeting annually to include the computers, replace things like that.
they're gonna wait for a server primarily.
And the $30,000 for elevator upgrade, I mean, and from where I come from, $30,000 for an elevator doesn't get you much. What's that for? What are we getting out of the elevator upgrade?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We continually have problems with the elevator to the point where we've had it shut down for some hours during the day, and then we're out of ADA compliance. They need to do some major work, I think, with the pistons.
So is it
To get it-
repair and maintenance or is it a capital item?
That's a capital item. We really need to get that done. They do repair and maintenance. We have a service plan with them. I don't know how much that is, but they really need to get in there and fix the piston because they keep getting off balance. And then the elevator drops a little bit. It becomes somewhat dangerous, and we have to close it down, and then people are not able to access the building.
Okay, is there any other questions at the moment? I can think of one, so, over the last, at least last year, we approved, looks like $30,000 for a sweeper. To start funding that. And then we got into the whole discussions over using the NIP money for that and such, and I don't see it on this year's request. Right, so why did we fund any of it last year, just as a, to get the ball rolling on it? I mean,
You've done that in years past, we had funded until we had enough to whatever purchase may be, right?
Right, but it doesn't even look like it's in this budget, right?
No, it's not this year.
Is there a reason why we left that off?
I don't know, I'm not really aware, but I mean, I know there's been talk about the net money.
Right,
But I've never put that on the capital plan in the past. I can certainly add that if that's something that you want to do.
no, it's just confusing to me that, so we started funding it last year, but now it's not on the capital.
No, you were gonna start funding it. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, and that was one of the items that got frozen. The 30,000.
We didn't actually spend that. We didn't actually.
30,000 that's there toward the sweepers.
Understood, okay, that's what's confusing me, I see the 30,000 there, and I just
Yeah.
figured it was in the budget last year, okay. Understood, thank you.
And if you look at the extreme right-hand column, you'll see two items there in that column, one is 750, the other is 225. Those are scheduled to be lease purchased. I'm not sure that we have on 975 on the current lease purchase to Eric.
We're, so there's current ones around 950.
About 900. So this is a little bit more. I do have another sheet I'm going to pass out at the very end, where I did some inflation calculations and just show you a couple of things that happened.
Okay, any other questions at the moment? Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to get it printed big enough so we can all read it. There's a lot of information. If there's any minor mistakes, please excuse them because it's about 5 iterations of stuff that haven't happened. We're going to start by discussing the latest road study, which was funded, and we got that final report, late in 2022, I believe. I believe our road condition declined slightly from the previous road study, which was done about 5 years ago. I don't remember where it's progress, I mean, whatever those movements are. I believe we were slightly down in the last 5 years. The other thing I mentioned is the 20-year capital expense amounts to over $50 million. If you look at the bottom, if you look at the first, second, third, and fourth column in, that red line at the very bottom, 50 million, almost $51 million over 20 years time. That's in constant dollars. So that's $2.5 million to fully fund what is on that plan. I think we all probably know that there's a lot of things that aren't on there. We just have to pick that one. The various colored lines indicate, well, the first one there is the GHS bond should be paid off. And then the orange one is the 5-year plan and so on across there. There's a color code at the very bottom. Put that on there. I wanted to kind of show where various bonding issues get petty off. I think that's about I'm afraid of the 20-year plan, but you're welcome to quiz me on it. The next to the last column is showing there either some bonding issues that have to be funded by bonding and just.
Okay, any questions, comments? Good.
The last thing is just a quick thing that I wanted to show the effects of inflation. I did it for, I think, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7% on both the 5-year plan and on the 20-year plan. And it's pretty shocking numbers when you start to get out 20 years on the
More than 52 million you already have on it.
yeah, because The 20-year plan starting off at 25, or 2.5 million a year. If you look at that, after 20 years, at 7%, almost $10 million. So that's part of the thing we have to juggle, or you have to juggle, is where's the break even point of spending money now or spending it later?
Okay, any questions, comments?
I didn't do any of this.
All right. Yeah.
I just want to say, tremendous amount of work. We're very fortunate to have you giving us these different perspectives as we look to balance, the budget and give enough attention to the housing and roads.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yes, excellent job. I mean, excellent job, for sure. This is,
Yeah.
having a 20-year plan like this, obviously. Important. Okay. Nothing else? If nothing else, we're gonna move on to Board of Finance.
11:01. So increases other than contractual increases. I increased overtime a little bit now that salaries are going up every year. I think we're gonna need a little bit more next year. And that's mostly to cover meetings. Also. Office supplies, central purchasing, I increased by 1,000, just the price of everything, so much more. That we've been struggling this year, we've been on basically a freeze on buying anything unless we have to. But we're in better shape now, but just the price of everything's gone up and we've been at 20,000 for many years. Also, the big increase is for finance and accounting, and that's because every other year we have to have the OPEB report done, and that's around an additional $80,000 for that report alone. And that's required by the state to have it done every other year. Service contracts, that's mostly the increase for our accounting program. Has questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions? No, I'm gonna say. For a while now, I've been advocating for us getting, not us, not the Board of Finance, but the town in general getting a system to record every meeting. I think we need that. And I know, I don't know if it's proper to put it on this budget, but I don't know if everyone agrees with me, but I would really like to see in this budget this year somewhere money for a recording system in the town hall meeting room. So I think the Board of Finance has to like if the finance. Maybe it's not necessarily supposed to be put on this budget, but I'm just saying in general, I'd really like to see that, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does this do? I mean, I just keep, that's.
Well, I mean, that's like the first selected personal device.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not, but the problem is we need to get a tablet or
Right.
some other computer so that people can access this. We'll have it locked up in the room downstairs.
Did you include it in the budget anywhere for a tablet?
We did not, American, I think we can script it out.
Okay, so it's not a massive expense.
So this recording is on Facebook, I watch it.
Right, but we need, we're using, now, correct me if I'm wrong, we're using your personal laptop to do this?
This is my work laptop.
Work laptop.
So you need to either have a laptop or some kind of a Chromebook that can do it. The other thing is, you see it does, somebody has to be dedicated
Right.
to set it up and follow directions. it's a little bit complicated if you're trying to run a meeting to do it, but, I'm ready to, as soon as we get the devices necessary, I'm ready to start teaching people how to do it.
Okay, that's all. Jim, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment that actually on the plan here, under public general government, the third item down, there is listed a video, system for the main conference room. We did not fund it this year. Because
Okay.
I think it was some talk about possibly getting a grant for that, is that not?
Yeah, I kind of worked on that grant for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately kind of died, but I appreciate that, Jim. I think this is a much more cost efficient way, you know,
It is.
pretty inexpensive. But I just wanted to bring that up to make sure we take care of it this year. I think there's a lot of people would like to see that, and obviously this is working well, but just so that every meeting at least has the opportunity to use it, you know.
Does the recording stream anywhere else other than on Facebook?
We have a YouTube channel, so it's also on YouTube, and it remains on YouTube until we take it off of there.
What about the town's website? No?
I don't have it on that, I don't know if I can stream on the town website, but I can certainly link the videos to the town website, at least after the fact. I don't know when I pursue that.
A link would be just as well. A link for YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. On the town of Bristol.
YouTube, homepage, virtual homepage.
It is on there somewhere. Yeah, I can't tell you where it is, but it is on there.
Many of us don't use Facebook.
Yeah.
Right, and I wanted, understood. I want it to be as accessible as possible. That's the
Yeah.
whole idea, right? So I want it to be as easy, and I think they bring up a good point. Go to our homepage, click, Board of Finance meeting, 7:00. Here's the link, here's the stream. That's simple, and technology nowadays, we can obviously get it done, so. Okay, any other comments on this budget? Eric, thank you very much. We're gonna move on, so anyone has any comments to treasurer?
1301. Pretty simple department. The only thing that the treasurer is looking for is the 2.5% increase that the union contract is allowing for. Other than that, no change.
Yeah. Any comments, questions? I see the deputy treasurer has like essentially no spending. Is that
Yeah,
is
that's,
that as needed or something? Or?
yes, and as needed if the treasurer is not available, but she's been pretty good about, she's always available.
Okay.
But if she happens to go on vacation,
Yeah.
we would have to have the deputy treasurer come in.
Sure, okay. Pretty straightforward. Any questions? No, okay. We're gonna move on to animal control.
2401. So the big expense here is NECOG. We outsource our control now. Their request could be in your packet. And the other expenses are just to have line items in there for the dog pound.
Yeah,
We're not actively using it, but it could still be used as a backup shelter for NECOG. And we keep it open only because if we go back to having our own animal control, it's grandfathered in, otherwise we're gonna have to build a home.
oh, yeah, okay. I was just gonna suggest getting rid of it, but that's a very, very excellent point. Any questions?
We don't have any wiggle room. We have to pay what they bill us.
Yeah. Do they give us statistics on the work they do for us, Eric, or not?
I don't know if it's in their request, but I could get it.
That would be excellent. Yeah, I'd like to know how many actual calls we'll get, because I get things are expensive nowadays, but I don't know. I still, after all these years, I just can't get over how expensive that is, but. Any other comment, questions? Okay, thank you. Gonna go to Health Department.
4201. And this is just for what we pay to Uncas Health and get it based on per capita rate.
Yep. Pretty straightforward. Assuming their rate went up just like everyone else in the world, so.
But sort of,
Go ahead,
does
Dan.
the population go up? Because these are both based on per capita, right? So I mean, are we up in population or?
I don't know, I'd have to look. I don't know if we are or not. I don't remember. They use the Department of Public Health figures.
Yeah, it says that, you know, it tells us the number they're using here. Yeah, 11,400. So
As compared to,
no, that's a good point. I don't know. If I remember
I know that per capita rate.
that's.
I know
that's
the rate went up. I'm just wondering if we still have as many or more or less residents in the town.
I can take a look.
The census, if I remember correctly.
11,407.
Right. As compared to last year of what?
Last year would have been 11,402. In 2020, but yeah, it just went up by 5.
Oh, wow. Okay, pretty straightforward. Any questions, comments? Okay, we're gonna go to emergency and contingency.
7101, this is just a line item that covers overages. And then line items, this went down. Remember last year we had increased it to cover increases related to the union contract because that hadn't been settled yet. So we reduced it by the amount we increased it last year.
So luckily we never had to spend any of that money.
We do, but it doesn't actually go in as an expense. It goes in as a budget adjustment. So
Okay.
like 110,000 that was budgeted this year gets transferred as budget adjustment. So
Right.
the expense is in the actual department.
Yep. And then we had more than enough to cover all that, I would assume.
Yeah.
Any questions? No, pretty straightforward, okay. And fringe benefits.
7201. This one went down a little bit. I decreased the unemployment because we haven't been paying any. Hopefully it stays that way. We haven't been paying much. And the state admin fee went down a little bit. That's a new sheet I had given you was to account for the actual that they had given. That's just based on how many members are currently in the pension system. So it's so much per member, and that's the admin fee that the state charges us. So we have a few less members this year.
Any questions? Comments? No, all right.
I have a question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
For Eric, we're gonna look into, a paid board, session.
Yeah, I reached out to CPM, figuring they would have the information. He hasn't got back to me yet, but he said he's gonna check and see if they have it, and if not, they're gonna reach out to similar towns. So reach out to him again, hopefully have something for next week.
Before our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments in general, though, anything? Anything overarching about the budget? In general, no? Okay, so our next meeting is the 18th. And I assume that's 7 o'clock at the town hall?
Yeah, that's the night of our regular meeting.
Oh, right.
But there's a few departments.
Perfect, that'll work great. Okay. Item number, or is it, I don't know my agenda. Item number 3, adjournment. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. There'll be some longer nights of that.
Yeah, it could be worse. That's cool. Very nice of that.
Which school is this? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.